Hey, welcome to this explainer. So picture this. You just woke up, your inbox is already flooded, the news is totally overwhelming, and honestly, before you've even had your first sip of coffee, you feel like you're already losing a battle. Sound familiar? Well, I went looking for some practical answers to this crazy modern burnout, and I actually found them in a pretty unexpected place, a dialogue with ancient wisdom. I decided to step into the shoes of a totally stressed out student sitting down with an enlightened teacher, basically begging for a way to navigate all this chaos. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into the profound teachings they shared and figure out exactly how we can all master the mind.
To kick things off, the teacher answers with a story. It's a classic parable from Eckhart Tolle. Basically, there's this beggar who sits on an old box for like 30 years, just asking for spare change. Then one day, a stranger walks by and asks him a super simple question. What's inside the box you're sitting on? The beggar says he's never looked, right? He just assumed it was completely empty. But when he finally pries open the lid, boom, he discovers it's literally filled with gold. The teacher just looks at me and says, you are that beggar. You're looking outside for validation, for peace, for success, all while sitting on an absolute fortune.
This inward focus totally changes how we look at conflict. When we think of the Bhagavad Gita, we usually picture this grand, ancient physical war, right? But the teacher explained that the true war is entirely internal. The ultimate battlefield is actually the human mind. It's where that daily, grueling struggle between our higher purpose and our lower impulses plays out. It's literally that split-second moment where you decide whether to snap at a coworker or just take a breath. That right there, that is the true front line of self-mastery.
So I tried to explain to my teacher just how exhausting this daily battle really is. I told him modern life feels like being a lost traveler trying to navigate this brutal, complex forest of constant demands. Everywhere you turn, there's a new trap, a flashing notification, some intense career milestone we're pressured to hit, or just the endless, mindless scroll of social media. It's a maze, and honestly, it's totally suffocating. The teacher just nodded and pointed out that all this digital stress is really just a shiny new mask on a very ancient human problem. It's that eternal struggle to figure out the difference between what's temporary and what's actually real. And to explain that, the teacher contrasted two realities, the temporary zeros and the eternal 9. Think about a bank check filled with a bunch of zeros. A zero all by itself, worth absolutely nothing. According to ancient wisdom, our physical body, our wealth, our fame, our social status, these are all just zeros. They're totally transient. They come and they go. But if you take a 9, which represents a deep spiritual connection, the divine or eternal reality, and place it in front of all those zeros, suddenly they have massive value. The point isn't to throw away the zeros in your life, but to anchor them with that absolutely crucial 9. To prove that these zeros are really just an empty box, we just have to look at the people who have collected the most of them. Take Muhammad Ali. If anyone reached the absolute peak of material success, it was him, right? But he explicitly stated that conquering the world did not bring him lasting satisfaction. The teacher brought this up to show that it doesn't matter how fast we run through that modern forest. If we're only chasing material victories, we are always going to end up thirsty.
And honestly, it's a truth we hear time and time again. Even modern celebrities flat out tell us that piling up wealth and fame is never going to give us lasting inner tranquility. Just look at this quote from Jim Carrey. He completely hit the nail on the head. He pointed out that people think getting rich and famous will somehow complete them, but it's a total illusion. True peace is found way beyond our personalities, our public personas, and definitely beyond our bank accounts.
Even the greatest intellects in history recognized how absurd it is to overvalue fame and all the hollow distractions that come with it. Albert Einstein, a guy celebrated literally just for his mind, actively avoided the spotlight. He said that fame only took away from his true work and his self-awareness. Hearing this was kind of a wake-up call for me. It made me realize that my own anxiety over my career status is just a trap. I've been completely stressing myself out trying to collect more and more zeros while totally forgetting about the 9.
But hey, it's one thing to understand this stuff philosophically and a whole other thing to actually live it, right? So as the stressed out student, I had to ask, what about when it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, my boss is yelling, and all I want to do is escape into mindless scrolling or just lash out from pure frustration? How do I practically regulate all these sensory desires when the battlefield of my mind is actively under fire? Well, the ancient texts from chapter 3 of the Gita offer this incredibly simple 3-step filter to quiet the noise and anchor the mind. It's all about consciously choosing what we let into our heads. Step 1, just notice the distracting impulse. Pure awareness is the very first crucial step to self-mastery. Step 2, pause and take a deep breath. Just don't act on the impulse right away. And then, step 3,
gently redirect your attention to your higher purpose, to the stuff that actually matters. It acts like an active shield, making sure you only engage with thoughts that align with your deepest values.
And this level of self-mastery directly translates into how we handle ethics in our careers and daily lives. The teacher shared this amazing real-world story about true integrity over cheap ambition. Picture a grueling cross-country race. A Kenyan runner, Abel Mutai, was just feet from the finish line, but he got confused by the signs and stopped, thinking he'd already won. Right behind him is the Spanish runner, Ivan Fernandez. Now, Fernandez had the perfect chance to just sprint past him and steal the gold. But instead, he came up from behind and actually pushed Mutai across the finish line so the rightful winner could take the prize. No way, right?
When reporters eventually asked Fernandez why on earth he let the other guy win, his answer showed exactly what it means to be guided by a 9. He told them, "I didn't let him win. He was going to win." And then he hit them with this brilliant, piercing question. What would be the merit of my victory? What would be the honor in that medal? I mean, wow. That is self-mastery. It means holding on to your ethics and clear values, even when a cheap, unearned victory is handed to you on a silver platter.
Okay, so if we want to actually make choices like Ivan Fernandez consistently, we have to train for it every single day. The teacher laid out this ABCD routine to help replace our old destructive habits with new virtues. A stands for association. We basically become the people we surround ourselves with, so intentionally seek out positive, like-minded company. B is for books. Read spiritual and wisdom texts daily to keep your intellect sharp so you can easily spot right from wrong. C is for chanting or meditation. Super vital for actively focusing the mind and building resilience for that internal battlefield. And finally, D is for diet. Eating consciously and with compassion softens the heart and preps the body for the daily struggle of self-mastery.
So how do we bundle all this together before we even step foot into the crazy forest of the modern world? Well, it all starts with a very deliberate morning routine. Before you even think about grabbing your phone, wake up and set a clear spiritual intention. Find your 9. Spend just a few minutes reading some wisdom to sharpen that intellect. Do a little mindful breathing or chanting to quiet down all that external noise. If you do this, by the time you actually start your workday, you are fully anchored. You're not just blindly reacting to the maze anymore. You actually have a compass.
So, look, we've got the tools. We know the fundamental difference between the empty box of transient fame and the pure gold of inner peace. Every single day, the choice of how we navigate our own battlefield is completely up to us. So I'll leave you with this. Are you spending your life blindly chasing temporary zeros, or are you actively cultivating the eternal 9? I really hope this explainer gave you some of the clarity you need for your own journey. Keep learning, keep focusing, and we'll catch you next time.